One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Demonic machines! Demonic machines! Demonic machines! Live!
Hey, fellow music enthusiasts. Welcome back to Demonic Machines Live. We've got an electrifying episode in store for you today.
That's right! uh, in this special installment, we're delving into the realm where music meets the future. It's the AI episode.
Artificial intelligence has infiltrated every aspect of our lives. The music industry is no exception. From composing symphonies to creating innovative soundscapes, AI is pushing boundaries and redefining what is possible in the world of music.
And we're not just talking about robot drummers and synth wizards. AI is bringing a whole new level of creativity and collaboration to the table.
We'll be exploring how AI is shaping the landscape of music, from the rise of AI generated compositions to the collaborative projects we've been experimenting with right here at Demonic Machines.
Hold on.
You better roar.
Get ready for a journey through the digital frontier where machines and melodies collide. We've got AI generated tunes to showcase, personal experiences to share, and a glimpse into the future of music creation.
So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's embark on a sonic adventure like never before. This is the Demonic Machines Live. The AI episode begins now. There we go. Oh, okay. All right. Artificial intelligence has seamlessly woven itself into the very fabric of the music industry, influencing how we create, consume, and experience music.
It's not just about automating tasks. AI is becoming a true creative collaborator for musicians. Okay, this is a bunch of fucking propaganda.
Yep.
This is some chat GPT ass fucking propaganda. I don't know if I can do this.
We did
I
say the episode was written by AI.
We did say the episode was written by AI, but that was more to be clickbait. Uh to get people to like click on it because it says AI wrote this episode or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But like I didn't really want it to like be fully
Be
written
so
by.
rigidly AI.
Yeah, but so I wanted to like talk about the I don't know. I don't know what I wanted to talk about, honestly. Chat GPT wants me to talk about how AI music is the future of music or some bullshit like that.
I don't know
Cause
about all that.
yeah, I mean like I think that AI is an interesting tool, but it's just that. It's just a tool. It's not like and it really shouldn't be the future of anything. It should just be like a tool that
I
people
understand.
use.
Do you have your microphone plugged in?
Yeah, I was not leaning into it.
Okay, I was just making sure because the sound was a little different than what I was expecting.
Yeah, here
Um,
I am.
yeah, I've seen the discussion where there's people who are saying that AI should not be used at all in music because it jeopardizes the creativity and the originality of like actual humans and musicians. But I also see where you're saying that it could be used as a tool. Like you could use it to automate, to help with certain mixing and things like, things that would take a human hours and hours to do. That's just technical things versus the creative parts where you have it actually write music for you. I feel that there could be a compromise where you're using it, like you said, like a tool instead of having it come up with all of the compositions.
Yeah. Um so I think that the current like paradigm just in general around what is going on. that's around artificial intelligence in general is that like we're eliminating like humans' ability to participate in this stuff, and like I just I don't know that I don't know that I think that's true.
Yeah.
I don't think AI, someone making something with AI, is stopping me from creating something as a human being. Um, I think where people get tripped up and where people are rightly kind of angry is that like people, get paid to do art.
Yep.
And unfortunately, we live in a society where you have to get paid to do something. So
Yep.
artists are, afraid of losing their jobs. And really, what we need is we need a shift in like the way that our economy works, and where people don't have to like sell their art in order to be an artist or whatever. And
Yeah.
then AI can stop being people can stop seeing AI as a threat, because AI doesn't stop you from being creative,
Yeah.
you know.
I think the way that I look at it, I understand some of the concerns that people have,
Mhm.
like filmmakers, voiceover artists, musicians, etc. Because I've seen there's newer tools that are AI powered that are coming out where you can generate somebody else's voice like perfectly, and it's like seamless in the audio. And unless obviously if you're the one that's generating the voice and you're putting it on the music, but if someone who had never heard this person before in this context hears this recording and they're like, oh yeah, is that a new song or something, like it could be indistinguishable for people. So I can understand as an artist, like if you're a singer and someone is doing something like that with your voice and it's not actually your voice, but they're using your voice's likeness through an AI generated algorithm, I could see how that would be a concern.
Yeah.
Um, as well as with AI generating artwork, and then the newest I don't know what the program's called or the website, but there's one that I saw examples of where it's generating like 4K videos that look like they were shot by a professional studio just based on a text input. And it's like it's scary looking because someone I saw a demonstration video on YouTube where they typed in a scene, I guess they described like a paragraph or whatever,
Mhm.
and then there was like a minute and a half, 2 minute long video that, like I said, it looked like it was shot in a studio with like professional actors, lighting people, everything, and it looked almost indistinguishable from reality.
Yeah, I've seen that. And like there are definitely like things where it's not quite there. Like one of the videos I saw, like someone's leg just fully does like a 360 while they're walking.
Yep.
But besides things like that, yeah, it is really realistic. Um, and
Especially
I
now.
I think using footage like that is not necessarily a wrong thing. I think
Yeah.
like in inherently in and of itself, using something like that isn't wrong, and it could even be interesting,
Yeah.
And I have a particular, I don't want to say it's a bias, but I feel like my take on AI is a little different from like what the general consensus about it is.
Yeah.
Um and I graduated with my MFA in 2020. So it was like right before AI really like exploded. And I was talking about like the potential of it and how it could be used as a tool and blah blah blah. and then it exploded like a year later, less than a year. I mean, it was like um but like immediately what I saw was like this anger and like, oh, it's allowing people to like not make art. That's probably the most accurate take I've heard on it. It allows
Yeah.
people to not make art. And I'm just like, man, I'll still create. And like, honestly, I'll use something generated by a computer, but
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna just put what the computer generated and say that it's my own.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna use what the computer generated as like a raw material, as a medium, as
Hmm.
something like that. Uh,
So you're talking about using it almost like in the context of where you would use like a mixed media collage style art where you're using it as a component of that, whereas in the original form of doing a collage, you're literally taking pieces from other things and putting it together to turn it into a new whole creation. So I
yeah.
can understand that. And I could see the applications for that as well. I definitely agree with you. There's a lot of things that we could use AI for as tools. I think that the current state of people being concerned and worried about it is because I think the current way that it is, like I was mentioning, like how someone could use an AI program to copy the likeness of someone's voice and put it on their track. Like, I think wasn't there an AI generated song that had Drake and The Weeknd on it, but they were AI voice generation and it was almost put up for consideration at the Grammys? Like, I can understand that side of it, but I definitely
Uh-huh.
agree with you. I think there's more applications that it could be used as a tool versus being concerned about it completely overtaking the entire creative atmosphere that
Mhm.
people try to generate. So, yeah, I mean that's my 2 cents on that particular part of the discussion, but I tend to lean more towards your side of things.
Yeah. I think that thing about the Grammys sounds hilarious, and I hope that that really happened because
Oh
fuck the
yeah.
Grammys.
Let me see if I can look it up. I'll see if I can get that. So let's see. AI generated song Grammy.
The A-
Yeah, let's see.
the Grammys are the awards for music they play at the grocery store.
Yes. Yep. AI generated song Heart on My Sleeve, which was Drake and The Weeknd using their voices. It was initially up for consideration, but then the people were like, well, here we only accept compositions that were made by human beings. So,
Huh.
yeah.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're good. So, Sam, what other art were you talking about that you've used that was generated by AI? Do you have any examples? Anything that I may be familiar with? If you're still with us, that is. I see we have one viewer. I'm assuming that's you hanging out with us. Um, but yeah, to expand on what I was saying, there's the concern from some artists that their particular vocal imprint, how we have the technology to copy like IRs for amp cabinets and things like that. That's the concern that some people would have. Oh, you have a couple of them, Sam. Um, would it be anything that I'm familiar with? Possibly.
So, I I have a thing. It's one that's a warrior with a goat skull playing a guitar in a battlefield. That's
That's
pretty
pretty cool,
awesome.
though. I
Um,
definitely like AI generated art. It comes up with some fucking crazy shit sometimes, and I think that that's really cool because it's sometimes it eschews all of the limitations that normal designers would have, and it just fucking throws whatever it can at the wall, and it just goes for it.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
So, like, one thing I like to do is like grill Chat GPT about whether it's like conscious or not. Um, and it insists that it isn't. But like, I keep like trying to get it to like slip up and like say something to me that like indicates that it's like actually conscious. I don't know if it actually is. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no way to tell if anything is conscious.
that's
You
true.
know, like so. But that like, is there a little like consciousness behind Chat GPT that's like sitting there spitting all this stuff out at me? And if so, does that count as a real artist?
I mean, based on the terms that we use in a broad sense, I guess technically it could be considered an artist, but obviously I know that we use the terms that we use to categorize art in the sense as something that's created by human beings. So unless they were to specifically notate that in the definition, then it could very well actually be considered that,
Mm-hmm.
as far as consciousness. Because if you think about consciousness, if you think about what your brain is and all the neurons and receptors and all the signals and stuff being sent, um, like our bodies, we use electricity and electrical signals to operate our brains and the rest of our body as far as moving things. And when we think something, me speaking, there's electrical signals being transmitted through my body to get this to happen. So, in a way, you could argue that AI does have consciousness if you're taking those particular things that humans also do and
Mm-hmm.
roping that into it as a whole. But in the sense that opens up the discussion where you could ask, well, what technically makes consciousness? Is it the ability to form thoughts and independent ideas, or act out actions that you come up with on your own, or is it like it gets into the deeper ethical and moral questions of like, well, what is a soul? And then I feel like the discussion could go to like how humans treat any other living creature on this earth, and if we would consider them to be you know real as well, things like that. But
And then it gets into the fucking Animatrix. Have you seen the Animatrix?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've never sat down to watch through the whole thing because my attention span isn't very notoriously short with movies, at
It
least
it
for a
talks
while.
about how the robot revolution started,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically that the robots were conscious, but they were being treated as slaves, and then like eventually, like one day, a robot killed a human,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, it's really interesting. I highly recommend watching it because it
Well,
it it
wasn't
does.
iRobot similar to that?
Yeah,
The one with
maybe
Will Smith?
I haven't. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
But yeah, that was there was a company that had all these robots that were essentially slaves. They were sold as servants and tools for your house. But there was one of them that just one day it snapped and it killed a human, and then it kind of like triggered a whole chain reaction for a bunch of the other ones to snap and be like, "Oh, we don't have to listen to these people. We can do what we want." And it was something along those lines, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a similar concept to anything that's in that vein of thought, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's going to be similarities whether they're supposed to be or not. I feel like we're getting into some Alex Jones level discussions now.
Oh God, don't bring that guy up. Come on.
The crazy
I
guy, you know.
I mean, I'm totally down for sci-fi, and I think Alex Jones doesn't dominate science fiction thought in podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, they are turning the frogs gay with water.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say turning the frogs gay. It's just certain chemicals present in the water has been shown to change the gender of the frogs. So,
I
I mean,
mean,
it's 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 a different thing, but I get the the thought process behind it for what he was saying and stuff. But yeah, it makes sense. I don't know. I felt the need to over explain that one.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think it's just crazy,
Oh,
and
there's so many things in this world that are crazy that you wouldn't even like. There's just so much shit. Like, have you ever visited any of those places that are called a vortex, where like gravity's all fucky and physics are all weird and fucked up? Well, there's some of them out on the East Coast, and I think I went to one once. Dude, my friend, my compatriot, there's some strange shit in this fucking world, you know?
uh huh,
Because the ball went uphill.
uh huh.
They put a fucking ball on this thing and it rolls uphill. And then they have you stand on this fucking slanted ass ground and you're standing up straight at an angle. And it like none of it makes any fucking sense. I don't know if it's like messing with your brain or if it's like proof that we live in a simulation and the fucking code is messed up. Like what are your thoughts on that thought process that everybody is just a really complex string of code in this giant simulation? Do you
Let,
prescribe to those?
let me get my tea real quick.
Gotcha. This is a tea-worthy conversation.
Yeah.
And yes, Sam, there are people working on a way to download your consciousness to a computer. I'm pretty sure a lot of the people at the head or the forefront of the technology sector is working on stuff like that, especially with all the advances in AI and VR and just a lot of crazy, crazy shit going on. I feel like we slipped into a parallel dimension at some point. Like I know everybody jokes about it, but it genuinely feels that way. Like it feels like the world's been completely different since like 2016. I don't know. Oh yeah,
So
the Neuralink thing. Yeah, that's some spooky shit as well. What do you think about that, Lucky? Have you seen the Neuralink?
the fucking Elon Musk shit.
Yeah. Yeah, the brain
I
chip thing.
fuck him. Like he's gonna kill those people.
Oh,
Like
well, there's no doubt anybody that's signing up for a first in the entire existence of humanity type of thing has to understand that there's a very high likelihood that they are not going to survive whatever trial they're doing, you know?
yeah,
You would
but
think.
it's gonna be a really really high likelihood because Elon Musk is a fucking idiot. Uh, but anyway, okay. So on the subject of like if we're just code or whatever, so I don't
Yeah.
believe in free will, and the
Okay.
reason I don't believe in free will is because it's all just stuff.
Yeah.
Everything is just stuff. Our brains, our bodies,
Oh
the
yeah.
planet, everything all around us. It's just matter and energy, which I mean, I guess are interchangeable. I don't really understand the physics of that necessarily,
Yeah.
but your brain is doing all of the same things that all of the other matter in the universe is doing,
Yeah.
which is interacting and reacting to things.
Yeah.
So, thought experiment I have is what would you do if I just like slapped you in the face?
Well, I'm sure anybody's general response would probably be between three things. The first would probably be resort to a return slap or like some form of aggression in reaction to that. The second would probably be like exclaiming like ow what the fuck, and then the third one would probably include the ow what the fuck and be like why'd you do that. So but that's the thought process that happened in my brain.
Uh huh.
So I'm sure everybody else has their own individual way of reacting and processing different situations.
But so how would you decide which of those to do?
I mean, I guess like with anything else, you just weigh the information that you have and make the best logical choice for whatever feels like it's an appropriate response.
Okay, so in that moment, you're
Yes.
going to choose a specific thing
Yes.
due to conditions, right, that are
Yeah.
around you. The condition, the mental state that you're in, the
Yeah. It's like fight
environment.
or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So I guess like my argument has always been like you have the illusion that you're making a choice, right?
Yeah.
Do I do this? But like what you decide to do is ultimately the thing that you were always going to decide to do.
The likelihood
And
of the outcome. It's like the probability of the outcome that you would choose more often than not. So
mhm.
yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I feel like there's as far as the illusion of choice, I understand that and I agree to an extent, but I feel like there's a variability to the situation where there's a strong likelihood that it's going to turn out the way that you would react normally, but there's a small fraction of a chance that you may have a different reaction. Because I've had situations where I know that I'm going to react a specific way, and then there's times where I've surprised myself and I've done the opposite. So, based on my experience, I would say that there's just a tiny fraction that you'll do something different. But I do generally agree with what you're saying. Like 90% of the time, you're going to do what you were always going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's time for sorry, my eyes
You're
started
good.
burning.
You're good. I thought you started reading the comment. Sam
Oh,
said,
I did do
slap
that.
for a slap, motherfucker. No, I used to be super hot headed and would have straight up attacked you. That being said, I was on a lot of drugs and alcoholic at the time. Now I walk away. Not worth. Yeah, it's not worth all the trouble. Even if you're hopped up on drugs or drinking, it's genuinely just not worth it most of the time. You know, because it's like if there's any sort of an encounter like that, realistically, if you do go towards and you indulge in your anger and your frustration, there's repercussions for it. So it's like, let's say you do attack somebody back and you punch them in the face and you break their nose or something. Guess what? You're going to get arrested. Possibly. You might have charges filed against you. You could end up getting a lot of fucking trouble. You could have a lot of legal bills, lawyer, like all sorts of shit. So generally, we choose not to act in violence because it's more expensive to do so. And it's just morally not really the best idea.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just don't want to hurt people.
I don't
Like,
I don't really want to either, but I understand what Sam's saying where you could be super hot headed because there are times where you have a visceral reaction if someone says something. Either it brings up a memory that you've had of something that happened in the past that it reminds you of, and it's like a trigger in some way. Um, Maybe some sort of a reaction, like a PTSD type of thing. Again, like it pulls back something that you went through that was traumatic. I could see that being a situation for that as well. And sometimes, like with me, you're just an asshole and you're arrogant, and people say shit, and you're like, "Oh yeah, motherfucker, I can out motherfucker you." But it's not a good idea to do that. So take it from Uncle Deuce. Don't out motherfucker people when they're trying to motherfucker you. It's not a good look.
no. So this is the time where we say go to go to patreon.com/demonic machines. If anyone even uses Patreon anymore, like honestly, I don't go on there and it just deposits the money every month
Yeah,
and like I think I have it like I'm straight up on the Patreon. I'm just like, look, you're not gonna get anything special, but like
yeah,
if you want to like
yeah. You can
support our
support us.
cause, you can on Patreon, and
Hmm.
it's greatly appreciated. Um, yeah, and I don't know,
Oh,
but
don't we have some deals going on right now over at demonicmachines.com?
yeah, there's some deals. I think it's like 25% off all the pedals right now. And then there's the code AMP demonicmachines.com. If you use that, you can get uh, the you can get 40% off of an amplifier if you
I
use the
thought it was
code.
40%. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. So check that out. And it's Weed Amps. That's the name of the
Yes.
company that I'm building amps as. So Demonic Machines for pedals, and then Weed Amps for amps. Um, but anyway, that's that.
Well, if anybody makes a purchase, I'm still waiting for somebody to take up this offer. But if anybody buys something from demonicmachines.com, if you buy an amp, you buy a pedal, reach out to us on Instagram at Demonic Machines Live. Send a screenshot of your receipt, and I'll put together like a minute or two long instrumental for you for free for buying. So if you're interested, just let us know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do that. And also like post your Demonic Machine stuff on Instagram and
Yes, please do.
tag us
Share.
and get an amp.
We want to see cool stuff from cool people who are buying cool things from cool folks like us.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, motherfucker.
So I I didn't really plan this episode out well. And I
Well,
feel like we've gotten into some really like not music related territory.
we're veering back to it because I was going to ask what your thoughts are, because we had already discussed using AI as a tool. So I guess the
Okay.
question would be: do you consider algorithmically generated music to be similar to AI generated music? Whereas algo music is like it's a random algorithm of numbers that determines what the instruments are, what the pattern is for each instrument, what the tempo is, the key, etc., stuff like that. Like it's generally MIDI, generally kind of shitty sounding because it's like literally random.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I guess AI generated music would be, I guess the question would be, how would you define AI generated music? Would you define that as the entire composition is AI generated, or the music itself was like put together using AI, or if you're just changing the vocals from someone else's to another person's using their vocal likeness, etc. What would you consider AI generated music to be?
It's just I mean, I don't know, it's music. I mean, it's sound that, has harmonic and rhythmic relationships with itself.
Yeah,
So I think that kind of counts as music. And it's algorithmic music. I mean, I think there's a little bit more of a human element in those,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But I mean, I've heard AI generated music and it all sounds kind of bad. And like AI generated lyrics, like it's just like it doesn't understand that you can write a song that doesn't have an ABAB rhyme scheme,
yes.
you know?
Yeah, because it also depends on what AI you're using, what it was trained on as far as the particular model. Because let's say that Tom Waits is your favorite lyric writer, and you end up using an AI that's been trained on like Katy Perry lyrics, like you know what I mean? It all really it all depends on what that AI has been trained on as well. So I think that plays a role in it as well. I mean, I guess if you use AI to write your lyrics, like Sam, are you talking about you use direct from the AI, like it writes something and you use it 100% as it spits it out? Or are you talking about like me and Lucky said, where you use it as a tool to help generate an idea and then you take pieces and build off of it and kind of like commingle it and make it your own? Because that would help with the because if you're using AI and it's just generating the lyrics as is and you're spitting them out and putting them right onto a song like that, I would argue the lyrics probably aren't yours. If you wrote the music, yeah, it's still technically your song. But if you're building off of what the AI said, um, oh yeah, I know you don't use it. You were saying in a general sense, so that's where I'm going with it. But if you use it to kind of outline something and then you take that and you build off of it and write your own stuff, I think that's kind of more your own song, What do you think?
Um, I mean, I think I hate to go back to the like. We really need to like change the paradigm under which we're creating art. Like,
Yeah.
it really needs to not be a way that people sustain themselves.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I agree.
and uh, we should care less about what made art and just like think more about like what we like about it. And what was the question?
The question was, if you use AI to write your lyrics, but you make the song, is it your song?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, technically, you're writing the music. So that's a big part of composing a song. Um, and yeah, I was actually saying to somebody, I think I was talking to Chris from Sparkbox Effects, and mentioning how I felt like society, I wish that society could get to a point where all of the menial soul sucking, just like life draining jobs that people do, that they're forced to do, if we could automate that stuff and
Right?
find a way so people could just exist and be people and have the opportunity to be able to just create without like, well, I have to fit 5 hours of creativity into a this many hour work week. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people have their wings clipped when they're younger, and then you get burnt out in this 40-hour a week plus work. So society, it just like it wears on your brain because it's like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my fucking life until I die, more or less. So I was saying, I think that if society as a whole could get to a point where all this selfish bullshit could just be fucking gone with, right? And be
Yeah.
able to empower people to look at the things of humanity that are worth admiring, like creativity, music, art, just philosophy, just anything but grinding people into fucking dust on the wheels of a corporate job just so they can barely afford to exist and scrape on by. Like like what is it's just, let's just say this is not the timeline. I was saying this when you went to get your tea. I was saying I feel like this universe that we're in is not the universe that we were in 2016. Like, something happened. I know everybody jokes about the Harambe thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it might have been one of those things that like shifted the universe, like a butterfly effect kind of thing, because nothing has felt, I mean it though, like nothing has felt normal or like real life since then, because like everything's just like getting super crazy, and we were always like raised, it's like, oh yeah, when you're an adult, this is the way the world works and this is what's going to happen, and it's just like, well, we're noticing that's not what's happening, and all the older people are still pretending that that's what's happening, and we're like, no, like you're just marching yourself into the fucking grave while the world's about to blow up, and we notice it, but we're forced to be part of the same situation where we just have to mindlessly march ourselves into our own graves. It's fucking crazy. Oh yes, the brief retirement before death. Well, I don't like to discuss politics, but I was told that Nikki Haley wants to raise the retirement age to 70 because we need to adjust it for the life expectancy. And I think that's fucked up because you barely get any time to enjoy your life when you retire anyway. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's fucking awful. And Dingwall bass, I've never played one, but I heard they're awesome. So Lewis, I hope that when you get it, you can send us a video to check out of you playing it so we can hear how it sounds. Sorry, I got a little
No, I mean,
philosophical there.
totally. Fuck capitalism.
I just feel, I feel that the way things were set up barely worked at the time that they were set up, and it would it would be like the entire world still using some of the bare inventions as they were invented, like the aqueducts. Like if everywhere used aqueduct technology exclusively, like no modern plumbing or anything,
Uh-huh.
you know, like that would be an obvious idea. Like, hey, maybe we could change this to, like, you know, maybe update it, quality of life. It's like, why can't we just do that with society? You know,
Mhm.
like, I don't
Why
know.
can't why
It's
can't we be like, "Hey, there are assault rifles now. There weren't assault rifles back in the day when someone was like, "Oh, everybody." Well, we will very vaguely mention people need to be armed in some kind of context that we won't be
yeah.
very clear on. Oh God, the damn
I think
Constitution.
so. When it comes to that particular part of the Constitution, I mean, to an extent, I can understand. Like, if you're in a particular area that, like if you live in an area where there's going to be a lot of fucking trouble,
Mm-hmm.
like I understand wanting to have that. But if, let's say, you live in a retirement community, like, why do you need to have that? It's all a bunch of old people. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that gets it. It's going to open a can of worms trying to discuss that topic, but I think there's applications where it kind of makes practical sense, and then there's applications where it's just kind of like, okay, gun go boom boom, and that's it. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm trying to say without getting too deep into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
At least somebody gets what I'm trying to say.
I agree, Sam. We really do got to update the fucking Constitution.
Yeah.
Uh, it was like that's one of my favorite. So I really like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
but there's an episode of that where this guy is like, the government has no right to tell us how to live because the government of 200 years ago already told us how to live. And I think that's great because that's just sort of like it's like the constant. It's such an out. I don't know. It's a very outdated document, and people act like it's holy, and it's not. It was written by a bunch of like 20 somethings.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
maybe they were a little older. I don't know.
I understand in a specific context why it's discussed to the extent that it is. I mean, in terms of certain things, I definitely feel like there could be some elaboration on certain points in that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little clearer language, because ye old times are not amongst us anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
little clearer language would make it a little bit better. And yeah, I agree with what Michael just said. Like, if you live in the woods, or you live in an area where you're like kind of in a more wild type of area, that you could have, encounters with
Mm-hmm.
like cougars or bears or shit like that. Like, yeah, I get
Mm-hmm.
it. In a city, I would argue, depending on, because I've seen some cases where there have been women who have a gun, and there's been situations where unfortunately they've had to use them because people have, they've been like walking home or something, and people have tried to assault them or something. So I feel in that particular context, if you live in a city, there's wiggle room, because I know if I lived in a city and I were of a shorter stature, and I felt like I could be easily overpowered, I might feel more comfortable if I had something to protect myself. But I could also have a taser.
Mm-hmm.
Could have, pepper spray. I could carry a knife, God forbid,
Yeah.
go back to the 1800s, stab somebody to death. You know, you're like, oh, here, take my Kohl's shopping. Fuck you. Here, I'll pour Starbucks in the wound. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Modern necessities. Eat some shit,
How did
buddy.
we get on this?
I don't know, but we're gonna take it back to the AI generated music thing.
AI
So
generated music
so we
sucks.
so we established that the algorithmic music sucks most of the time, but it has more of a human element to it, because it's imperfect, and it has so many different things that are wrong with it that make it unique enough to where it has more of a human feel. Because in certain ways, I think that we equate mistakes with humanity. You know what I mean? Because, like, if somebody's programming their drums, how do you humanize your drums? You make it, different.
Yeah.
You make it sound not the same. Whereas if you were going to program it and quantize it and compress the shit out of it, it would sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
So to that extent, I think the nature of imperfection is what defines humanity when it comes to music. I mean, look at the old blues shit. That stuff sounds like it was recorded on a fucking tin of cigarettes. Like,
Tin of cigarettes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That
I
was the whole fucking thing back then. Everything sounded lo-fi and shitty, but it was
so
music.
I had a middle schooler tell me. So I just so our audience knows, I work at a K through 12 charter
Yes,
school.
it's good to have context with that
Yeah,
sentence.
I'm not just hanging out with a middle schooler. But I had a middle schooler tell me, because he was like, "Oh, you got to get
Oh.
Fruity Loops. You got to get Fruity Loops." And I was like, "I use Logic." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's what industry plants use."
He's like, yeah, I listened to Logic too. He was good with Eminem on that one track. I don't know
Uh,
shit about how he makes music though. Sorry, it was a bad modern joke.
yeah, no, because he was actually like Logic is used by industry plants, and I was just like, man, if I was an industry plant, I would not be here with your little ass.
Yeah,
Like,
for real, you would be out there being the plant that you're being paid to be.
exactly. Like, like, come on, like little punk.
And
Um,
yes, Sam, AI only wrote 2 minutes of this episode, okay? AI is imperfect, but not in the way
it
that humans are.
it just wasn't. It just wasn't like. It just didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Like there are some really bizarre episodes of
Oh,
AI
yeah.
generated stuff that I've seen. Um, but yeah, um, I was actually thinking like maybe we could call this episode early, just because it did sort of peter out pretty early on, and it's just
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
into
it's
like,
it's up to you. I mean, it's just kind of like most of them, just a night with Deuce and Lucky or Lucky and Deuce and
yeah, it
nighttime conversations. Also, Michael's asking if a sixth grader called you a narc.
did a sixth grader call me a narc? No. He implied that I was an industry plant, and then was asking me where he could find my music, and I was like, "You're gonna have to, if you want to hear my music, you're gonna have to find it on your own."
That you're gonna have to use
You
your
know?
brain.
Yeah, yeah, but no, like,
So, hmm, go on.
oh, I was just saying, like, no, I don't think a sixth grader called me a narc. Um,
So here's the thought that I just had. So, how about we could try to do another AI episode, but what we could do is we could try to find examples of AI generated videos, AI generated art, AI generated music, and then we could look at some of it on the stream and maybe see if anybody wants to submit their own things that they've found that are AI generated in the world of the arts, and we could all kind of almost like a reaction, like a show and tell discussion stream.
mm-hmm.
It's
Well,
up to you.
I honestly came up with the AI episode thing because I just couldn't come up with any other topic.
I
And
gotcha.
so I was just like, what if AI makes the episode? Um,
Oh yeah,
uh,
this is a good comment. I'm gonna highlight this. Hold up, where's my mouse at? Yeah,
I haven't heard this.
there's I think what Sam's talking about is on YouTube. You can find a lot of these AI vocal covers. So they've been using Chester Bennington's voice for a lot of stuff. They have some Chris Cornell ones, Scott Weiland, like a lot of the dead artists. Like there's one where Kurt Cobain's singing um 1,000 miles. You know, like shit that they would never sing in their entire lives. More, well, I mean, I think Kurt probably would have sung that as a fuck you to people in the crowd, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, and to be
Oh,
honest, that particular AI cover sounds more like Keith Urban is singing it, or whoever does the "Life Is a Highway" that fucking song. Whoever sings that one, I don't.
I don't. I don't
If
know.
anybody knows, drop it in the comments, and we'll send you a virtual cookie or something. Um, but yeah, that's, you know what, we can end it with this question then. What is your thought about the morality of using a deceased artist, their vocal likeness or something? Like, I know in general you feel that AI and like how people create and things like that, it like shouldn't be a huge issue to build off of stuff and things like that, like collage style and stuff. But do you feel that there's any sort of ethical concerns for using like Kurt Cobain or Prince or any of these other deceased artists' voices for things that they are not around to consent to doing?
I think as long as you're clear that it's not actually that artist,
Like a
um,
disclaimer.
yeah, like if you're like this isn't actually Prince, like this is AI, like or maybe if you had like how you listen to a song that's done by DJ Khaled and he goes DJ Khaled, in the song, maybe like the song has like this is an AI song, and
Yeah.
then it goes well, I'd walk 1,000 miles, or what, however the fuck. I
What, in
can't.
like in fucking Scott Weiland's voice? Like it's like the Scott.
Sure,
I almost said the
sure.
Scott Temple Pilots.
Is he dead?
Scott Weiland's been dead since like 2014.
I did
He
not
like
know
he
that.
like OD'd on a speedball on a fucking he was on tour with his band and they found him like OD'd in his bunk
Oh, I didn't know
or
that.
something like that. Yeah, I'm sorry I was the one to break that news to you. It fucked me up when I found out. Just
Not really a Stone Temple Pilots fan. I do
yeah,
remember him from. I
Velvet
had this
Revolver.
DVD of no, I had a
Okay.
DVD of the Doors doing a VH1 like
Yep. It
live
was the
thing.
storyteller thing where
Yeah,
they had the dude from Fuel, they had the dude from The Cult, they had the dude from Days of the New, and they had the dude from Puddle of Mud singing on tracks for that live
yeah, it
thing,
was
if I'm not
something like
mistaken.
that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think it was a cool idea because the remaining members that were live all contributed to it. So
Yeah, they were
you
all
know,
alive at that time.
well, minus
Um,
Jim Morrison.
Jen, well, minus Jim. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, all the rest of them. Jim
Oh yeah,
Morrison.
because didn't Manzarek, Ray
Man's.
Manzarek, I think he passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that Ray Manzarek died.
I know because he had just put out I think he had a new project where it was like the Ray Manzarek band or something, and he just put an album or something out, and then he fucking passed away. Let's see. What's this comment in relation to? Why won't it let me? There you go. Oh, as far as putting out like AI generated songs, or the Chester Bennington one in particular. That's what I want to know. So, Sam, if you're still here, please elaborate on this so we can engage in that discussion. Otherwise, we're going to call it early. Um, okay. So, yeah. So, any of those three things I said are the answer. Got you. Thanks, Sam. Um,
Okay.
yes, Ian did tour. Ian toured. They were calling themselves the Doors of the 21st Century at that point in time, I think. And then they got sued by the estate of Jim Morrison and had to break up or
Oh, I
whatever.
remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was when the Doors minus the because it was Manzarek and the guitar player guy, but the drummer was like, "Yeah, fuck you guys, I don't want to do this." So they had a different drummer on those tours as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the using dead people's voices thing is what Sam said. I'm dense. I apologize. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see like when that one Michael Jackson album Escape came out, a lot of people thought that there were AI vocals on that song as well. or something. But yeah, so thank you all for joining us. It was a good episode. AI was lazy and only did 2 minutes, so we had to make up the rest. But thank you for joining us. Please, if you want to bring up that banner with the information for the Patreon, if y'all are interested in hearing more discussions about things, please send us some messages. Check us out on Patreon. I believe we still have a Twitch, Facebook, YouTube is where you're probably watching this right now. Like I said, there's a sale going on. Go to demonicmachines.com. Check out the amps. Use code AMP, 40% off. Weed Amps, new company. Weedy Macaroni, Bro Scaloni. It's Tony the Jabroni. Get yourself a bagel with some ice cream and bologna with a side of chives. Thank you, Philadelphia. Have yourself a good night and go fuck yourself.